welcome to my Quarterman show.
So it's great to see you. Great to see you. And that was quite an experience. Enjoyed it very much. So, Elad, tell me a little bit about your journey to this moment.
Well, I started in visual effects, really coming from a place of music, and I do love movies, but for me, music videos were kind of the way. I feel there's a power to music. There's a emotionality that is unequal. So for me, that was a big draw as to why I came sort of into the world of visual effects. I was a compositor for a while, then became a visual effects supervisor, a director. I've directed some commercials, some music videos, and sort of slowly progressed into this place where I've been the person that people tend to approach when they have something technically complex that is also involving design and storytelling and sort of big, complicated visuals. And it's been quite a journey. We started trying to just make 12 minutes of immersive footage for this project. We didn't even know that if we could do something longer. And some of the very first sort of projects that are for the Apple Vision Pro at all, the very first feature length project, that was not where we started again. So we started doing something small and started adding little bits, and maybe we can try this, and did an experiment, and we'd have to kind of go through the process and get to where we could show something and build on it. And slowly the producers, Bono, were like, oh, we like that. Let's do more of that. And got to a place where it became the first feature length project, because we were able to kind of make this thing that works with the other version of the movie. There's the cinema version that everybody can go watch, and it's beautiful. But we were able to kind of build on that and make this project. So all of it that's kind of led me, I think, to this place, as in I was, I think, sort of the right person in the right place with the right history to attempt to do this. And I feel very, very lucky to have done it.
So before we get into the work itself, let's dive a little bit into that history. Are there moments that you'd single out about your life in music and how that led to this in a way?
So unfortunately, I can't play any instruments. I love music. I used to in the late 90s in Israel, where I'm from, I used to program a late night radio show, and I would play all hip hop. Uncensored, because nobody understood the lyrics. And also, it was like midnight. But I've always been very attached to music. And then in the aughts, I had my own visual effects company, and we did a lot of music videos, all the Outcast music videos. I have a Moon Man, a VMA for Hey Ya from Outcast, and just worked with pretty much everybody: Janet Jackson, Britney Spears, Pink, all in their early days, with some really amazing filmmakers. And I got to see them work. I got to learn to listen better, as in pay attention to what the story that the artist is trying to tell is. When I was younger, it was a lot of me. No, I have an idea. This is what I want to do. And then over time, I've learned that you do better work when you listen to the artist, when you listen to the material, when you can kind of tune yourself to that. For me, being there in those moments, like with Outkast on set, with directors like Francis Lawrence or Brian Barber or like Dave Meyers, who still make music videos to these days, was just such a learning experience that I was able to sort of pick up little bits and incorporate things. So if you look at Outkast, I Like the Way You Move video, you'll see things that I did as creative director on it that are sort of leading to some of the work here. You'll see little thoughts that have progressed over the years and have become more solidified, more finessed, and all kind of led to this. And then because I came from a background of a compositor, specifically a flame artist, which is a specific compositing software where when you put your stuff together, it's not like Photoshop where everything's flat. You put it together in space. So the thinking of the sort of stuff that we did here kind of was immediate for me, because that's how I got taught to think about putting images. So it really is work that I think I was meant for.
Mm-hmm.
I got super lucky in my life to have been like some of the friends I've made, musician friends, have really meant so much to me because of my love for music. Being able to support those artists, being able to work with those artists, getting a call from some of these artists and saying, "Hey, this album's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to play a part?" And my answer is always yes. In whatever category. It just being able to do sort of the same thing with Bono, with Radical Media, John Kingman, who's sort of a god when it comes to media at all, but certainly kind of music documentaries. And the team at Apple has really felt like where my career has been heading to for a long, long time.
When did you come into the picture with Apple? When did you become part of this team?
I was working as the ECD at a company called The Artery out of New York. They got hired to do this work by Radical Media, who produced the project, and Apple TV+ was the studio behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Dominic, who directed the cinema version, had some ideas of what he wanted the immersive to be, but that was sort of a very early part in this project where we were just going to do those 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't so connected to the storytelling. They were more like additional bits that you can watch on the Vision Pro. And then things sort of slowly changed as we figured out, I think, better ways to support Bono's vision. So really, in the middle of the project is where we came in.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly was, I think, the right fit for that moment to take it from the idea and build on it and make it what it became.
Which was the point where you felt that, oh, I'm a storyteller. I'm getting to be part of the storytelling in this piece.
It was a specific meeting in this project where we were sitting there with all the execs and the producers, and you could feel the shift. Like there was a question of like, okay, what's our next move? What's our, where's this project going? And like, everybody was looking at me. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I had a thought and an answer and some tests we did, but it's like that was the moment in time where it's like, okay, I get to now creative direct the rest of this and lead it forward. And obviously, it's all a collaborative experience. All those names I mentioned before, the producers, the execs, definitely Bono played a part, but there was that meeting sitting at Apple with a big white table and just like everybody kind of looking at me. It was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this now.
Even from the time of the cinema version, there was a setup for the Apple Pro perspective of it. There was always that was always an element.
Yes, from the very beginning, the Apple team wanted to have a sort of sister version that's an immersive. Mm-hmm. It just was originally meant to be shorter and sort of an addendum, and ended up really being a sister version of the movie where it's a similar experience, but it's different. You just got to see it.
Yeah. And I would say it seems so definitive. And it makes me wish that every concert was filmed this way. It feels like the future in that sense. It's like we want to be part of live. And it works so well with the live element of it. It just makes you feel there. And with the added aspect of all the graphic work. So tell me a little bit about the graphic part of it. When did that originate? How did you contribute to it?
I mean, like I said, it came a little later, but in some ways it was obvious because Bono has the drawings in his book. Mm-hmm. The Broadway version of the show that I took time to like watch every possible taping of everything he's done. Mm-hmm. And people shooting things on their phones, whatever. I watched all of it, did a lot of research as to his artwork. There was some stuff that U2 had done to promote the book tour. but mostly just delved into his artwork in the book as our base to kind of work from. And he's got such a specific style that on the one hand feels very rough and childish, um, but he's extremely expressive. It's really hard to mimic, actually, because we'd use like the with a team of designers and illustrators. The work is all done by hand, which was very important to me because I wanted to mimic what he does. He uses an iPad and he doodles on the iPad all the time. So we had some of his drawings to work with, and it became obvious that that's where it needs to go. That his drawing, his art, is the way to kind of supplement and augment the performance. And it really took some time for all these really amazing artists who drew too well, right? It was like they would draw things. I was like, it's beautiful, but it doesn't look like Bono's work because it's just too well done. And even, I mean, I don't think they did it, but there was a moment where I suggested, like, try and draw with your non-dominant hand, like, because your lines are too good. It's like, you know, where his are kind of messy, but expressive. It really kind of grew. We started doing a little thing with sort of this wire statue thing that looks like he's drawing of his dad. And then it was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And it's emotive. You look at it, you're like, oh my God, that's there. And you get an emotion from it. So then it's like, okay, let's try and add this little bit here. Then we came up with this notion of sort of building these wire sets. And I just started adding more, and the appetite on the production side, on the Apple side, grew more and more for like, oh, wait, let's do more. Let's do it in the beginning of the movie. Let's do it in this part. And it really was a journey and a really fun one because we got to do more, but also got to think of new ways to incorporate this stuff. And I have to be honest, like, when I started doing visual effects or when I was working in the arts, a lot of it was like, shit, I don't know how to do this, but we'll give it a whack. And it was crazy. We didn't sleep for weeks and we did something and there was fun in that, not knowing how to get it done. There was fun in finding it out. But then for the last 15 years or so, pretty much it was all about budgets. Like, you give me a vision, I'm like, okay, I can do it. Just if you have enough money. If not, we have to figure that part out. But this was new. This was like all this stuff that we had to do that never done before, that we needed time to finesse. Because if I showed it to you on just a screen as a test, you'd be like, I don't know, like it's too busy or it's too whatever. But when you see it in the immersive world and you're suddenly surrounded by Bono's drawings and you're immersed in all of that, you get the emotion. There's other moments where I have to be like, trust me, I need another week before I can show, you know, and everybody's like, no, we got to see it. And, you know, like we need to know what we're spending our money on. It's like, no, I can't show it to you yet because we got to go through these things and we had to test things. And sometimes things that I didn't think would worked out incredibly well. And sometimes things that I thought would work really well bombed terribly. But it was fun because of that, because of the sort of not knowing and figuring out. It's a place that I enjoy being in as an artist. And then the other side, which I think is really important to this technology, there is a emotionality that you can create that I don't think you can do with regular cinema. When you are really there with Bono on stage, when things are around you, when you can explore the world, there is a sort of tingling on the back of your neck that you can create that is very hard to do in cinema. Maybe not impossible, but incredibly hard. In this new medium, I'm going to call Bono, he call it a new art medium, I think allows for that in a way that is really useful for director when I want you to feel something in both directions. In feeling something great, like being awed by this thing or that, but also making you feel a little on edge or whatever, or by moving cameras around or doing some things. And combining all that with sound, the 360 sound in the Vision Pro is another tool that really allows to play with the music, the mix, the interaction, drawing your attention to this place or that, and all of that in the goal of making you feel something, right? And I really feel like all those tools are sort of above and beyond what you can do with a flat screen.
I would agree, and I think you truly succeeded in the emotional part, and I think that your musical instincts and understanding help a lot. The overall product of your effort doesn't really feel like a product. It doesn't feel like a showcase of technology. It is art. It's not showing off. It's really just communicating the emotion, and you're immersed and really feeling. It's so tasteful. I thought it's really like one with the music. It's not on top. It's not pressuring or putting anything. It really feels like it's meant to be that way.
I like what you said about showcasing the technology. I think I got lucky in that there's been enough things for the Vision Pro and all the other headsets, but especially the Vision Pro, that were about showcasing the technology. All the initial stuff is like, look at our amazing technology, and it is amazing. But I got lucky enough to be in a place where I didn't need to do that, where I could play around with this medium in ways that were to support the music. We're all about listening to Bono's input, whether actually from him or from his songs, and not about the sort of look at our immersive technology. And it just got lucky to be in that place in time. I think if it was 3 projects earlier, there probably would have been more pressure to do that. And it really freed us up, myself and the entire design team, to just focus on what can we do with this medium, what can we try new things. Yeah, I hate to use the kind of the word groundbreaking because I'm just kind of reticent to say great things about myself, but I do think we were in sort of this new ground. We were breaking new ground, and all in the service of the performance and Bono, and not having to focus on the service of the technology.
Yeah. I think the intention was there on your part, because, for example, that instinct that you had to go for the idiosyncratic part of his drawing and not try to improve it or make it to something that it's not. It feels it reminded me sort of John Lennon's drawings, the way, they have their own charm because they're real. They're his. It's not, imagine if somebody tried to correct those, in quotes. It feels like a whole. It really does feel like a whole, and like he's thought out that way. And I just hope that, more people get to experience it. It's a beautiful thing.
Me too. You can see the trailer at the Apple Store, and hopefully more people will be moved to get the device and see the whole thing. It's very exciting to be in this sort of place where it's also hard sometimes because there's no words to like really explain the experience, yet there's no frame of reference of like, oh, it's like this, before somebody watches it in the Vision Pro. So I do hope a lot more people get to. It's been exciting.
Definitely. I had the good fortune, both as a performer and as a friend of performers, to be on stage during a concert or, in front of 40,000 people or something like that. But I've never felt that outside of that moment until now, because it really feels that way, like that rush. When you see it on film on a flat screen, it doesn't really feel that way. But watching it here, I mean, for anybody who's a YouTube fan or Bono fan, you're not going to get closer than this.
He's right there.
It really feels that way, and it just feels good for me as of these things. I enjoy seeing the camera next to him and just feeling the audience. It just
I think an important thing for us, which we kept reminding ourselves of all the time, was kind of less is more. And especially as you progress through this movie, we start out very subtle because it's a new experience. You basically get to be on stage with Bono with very little additions from like design or anything, and that was important because people who haven't done that before get to just experience being right there with Bono for the first time. And I remember when I first put the device on and watched that, and it was like, oh shit, and you forget that a little bit because you're in this world and you're used to it and whatever. And we had to remind ourselves, no, it's okay to do less. It's okay to just let the experience itself live and support everything. He's such a great storyteller. It's such an emotional thing. Just let him do his thing and support it when it's useful and when it makes sense. I'm very glad that you enjoyed it.
I was about to say that great fortune of having such a central, great storyteller that just leaves you hanging with a single word sometimes and then build from there. That's a great privilege, I bet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even Bono's notes were poetic. I was like, oh my God, I gotta put this on the wall. And it makes you feel good, even though, he's like, change all this, but in such a poetic way. It's like, fine, I'm whatever you want. So yeah, that was really wonderful working with him and interacting with him. There's a kindness emanating from him, from the whole crew, Edge and his wife Ali, all of whom I got to meet. That is really just something else, and it really comes from him. It's that artist in him. You can see it in all his work. So I got incredibly lucky to have been involved in all of this.
Do you remember the moment when you first had any direct feedback from him?
We always knew this was going to be very personal. Quite worried about certain parts, like his dad. We're animating his dad in a way, a very subtle way through parts of this. Was very concerned about that because I don't know. I've never met his dad. I don't know how he moves. I don't know what. And Bono does. Like, he has a specific vision of like what his dad is like. So we had to find some line there. So once we kind of managed to cross that, we did that sort of kind of wire statue thing that you see in Beautiful Day. Off his dad, that's based on his drawing, but it's not his drawing, and it still has this sort of weight. And he could look up at his dad, and he loved that. So that was like a big turning point. And then when we did, so the next kind of big move forward was when we did With or Without You, and have this big light that's kind of rotating above your head. And again, he was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm after. And then sort of opened the doors to a bunch more. So those are kind of two big moments with him that were instrumental to making it work.
Fantastic.
Yes, it was fantastic to be there.
Is there anything that you can talk about going forward that you're going into?
I'm trying to develop some of my own stuff. I have some ideas with Apple that would be in the same line, both immersive and flat, so you can watch it at home, but also get a different experience. I hope somebody sees this and goes, oh, I got to work with that guy. This world is really interesting to work with. I think there's a lot of new technology coming out in Vision Pro, in immersive, in experiential worlds. All of that is stuff that I really like working in and using new technology to tell stories. So I'm very excited and hopeful, and I think there's some great things, but unfortunately nothing I can talk about at the moment.
As a director, I would say anybody who's a filmmaker should really take a deep look at this and
I agree,
and look into its potential, because I would love to see work like this, and I think most directors are just going to be blown away by the possibilities.
I think so. I mean, regardless of my work, I think that as a medium, it opens up so many options. And we are, I think, at that point where it's beyond the showcase. It's like, okay, now what can we do with this that's actually supportive storytelling? Not that the older stuff wasn't, but certainly now it can just be more free to just.
And it feels true to the arts. Like right now, it really feels like an extension of Bono. It doesn't feel like something pushed upon him. So it feels great, and I commend you for that.
I'm glad you thought that.
Well done.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
is dark, the jungle is your head, can't rule your heart. A feeling so much stronger than I thought. Your eyes are wide and though your soul, it can't be bought. Your mind can wander.